Good morning, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for coming to my talk today. Today I will be talking about building your profile as a game developer outside of the job. So some of you may be thinking, why do I need to know this? I got the job already. I'm doing the tasks, like, what's up? But just a few things. Building yourself outside of your job is also beneficial to your job. There are a lot of kind of blind spots while you're working at a company, places that, your other developers, your team, maybe even you don't know that you don't know. And so being able to continue building yourself outside of your job is going to, in turn, help you and your project as well as your team. But with that being said, also, your company is not your identity. I really want to stress this today. You are all really, you're really talented people. You're game developers. You are not company game developer. And no amount of layoffs, studio closures, project cancellations is going to be able to change that. So I am trying to kind of instill this message on you and also make sure that you kind of have a safety net for yourself for if these things happen. And again, with the recent layoffs and project cancellations and studio closures, there are a lot of game developers feeling lost. We're in a very particular place, especially with our work, because we, as artists, kind of identify with our projects, but it's not necessarily ours. It's the company's, right? And so that can quickly be stripped away from us, and a lot of people kind of feel stuck in those moments. So with that in mind, here are some tips. Everybody have your notebooks out, right? And let's get started. Cool, so just a little bit about me. I am a video game writer at High Moon Studios. It is under Activision and I guess under Microsoft now. The tiers just keep going. I really like writing cinematics where one dude puts his hand on the other dude's shoulder. And even though I'm a video game writer, I just want to say that this is going to be applicable to any discipline. And especially for those who have probably been in the industry for a while. I would love for you to take some of these tips and keep them with you even later throughout your career. It's not just for new game developers. And I was previously at Hasbro, Insomniac, and Bonus XP. Something that I kind of did notice, especially while working with veteran game developers, is they'll be in a space for 8+ years. They haven't updated their resume in that time. They haven't needed a portfolio. They haven't gone to events like this. And they feel secure in their job. And even though that's super lovely, in this current climate, it's not really a safe thing to do. And so this is kind of providing a safety net for you in case, again, that rug gets pulled out from under you. So here is the first tips. Studying up, I have them in tiers because we're all gamers, right? And they're sorted out between kind of like price and also time commitment. So easy is going to be, free. You could kind of do it bits and pieces here and there. It doesn't take a lot of time. And then hard, of course, is going to be things that are more expensive and more time extensive too. So easy, checking out YouTube. GDC has a lot of free talks. I watch so many of them. And Game Maker's Toolkit, of course, a lot of you are familiar with these. There are a lot of select TED Talks. As somebody who's interested in pursuing leadership, it's really hard to go through those trainings while you're actually doing your work. There's not a lot of leadership training support programs. So you kind of have to find that training and those learnings outside. And so one of the ways that you could do that is through TED Talks. Outside of those talks, there are also game jams on itch.io. Make sure if you are working for a company that they allow you to do game jams. There are some that are very particular, or they require you to fill out a form before you do so. But game jams are really, really lovely because you're working on a project that isn't the thing that you're having to do in your day-to-day. You're working with different people often, and you're able to kind of breed different creativity because, again, with the kind of current state of the industry, and there's people that are working on games for 6, 8, 10 years, you could start, getting that tunnel vision, and having time to put yourself into a different project and kind of pull away can actually give you a broader perspective and in turn can help your project. So Medium, books. Of course, there's a lot that are on the process of game development, but there are so many that are also about game dev history, which I find really useful. And I understand where different identities come from outside of just kind of your general team and environment. And in turn, that would make you a better teammate. One of my favorite books, just doing a shameless plug here, is Gamer Girls by Mary Kenny. It is a history book, 25 female game devs that have shaped the industry. And it was really impactful for me because I just didn't really know a lot about female game developers in the games industry. And I was able to kind of use that perspective and also apply it to what I'm doing today. And then the more expensive and more extensive things are taking classes. So that would include things like masterclass, Pluralsight, and then a lot of industry professionals actually have discipline-specific classes that you could take. And those are incredibly useful because you're kind of getting mentorship from somebody who has been doing it. They're not directly involved in your project, so they're giving you a more unbiased opinion. And you're also going to be learning usually with a bunch of classmates who are also working and doing things that you are interested in doing. So you're kind of building your community in that way. So study up, do your learning. Also in the same vein, staying curious. So what projects are other developers and studios making? What are your competitors? What are companies making that are completely different from your project? What games are gaining popularity? What games are kind of sitting on the back burner right now? And also something to note is what companies are ramping up hiring. You could usually tell when companies are ramping up hiring, that means that they are going further into production for their project, and so they're kind of needing to staff up for that. And that's something that you should kind of check out and take note of, know what is happening around you aside from just your company, right? And then once you do that, of course, teaching what you know. So you're an expert at something, and you should talk about it. That could be through mentorship organizations. Two of my favorites are Women in Games International. They already kind of have people that are interested and involved in working with them, and so they kind of already have people that are looking for that mentorship, and you can give a talk through them, mentorship through them. If you're not necessarily interested in being with a specific organization, want to do it more individually, you can offer mentorship on LinkedIn or other socials. Or for some places, you could even mentor internally. Some actually have internal mentorship programs. You could teach your coworkers. There are things that you know that they don't, and there are things that they know that you don't, and so you guys could kind of teach each other. Something that I really appreciate is lunch and learns, where everybody kind of takes their lunch hour and they come together. Sometimes everybody will watch a GDC talk together. Sometimes people in different disciplines will give like kind of a brief talk about what it is they do so that teams outside know what they're doing in their day-to-day life that we don't necessarily get to interact with on our actual like job basis. And you just kind of get a more rounded feel of what it is that you're doing and the people that you're working with. And of course, building your reputation. Get your name out there. The cheapest and easiest is social media, but I also want to acknowledge the current state of social media right now with the increased harassment in game developers, especially those marginalized game developers. I really want to stress to just kind of keep yourself safe. It is really unfortunate that developers are being treated like this and they don't deserve it, but we do have to kind of help look out for ourselves when companies cannot. And so making sure that you don't have your personal information out there, such as like your address. If you have your phone number on your resume, make sure your resume is not publicly available. Even if you are not currently under fire right now, things can very quickly change. People can make up a weird controversy about you. Who knows? And you want to make sure that people aren't having access to you in ways that you would not want them to have access to you. Speaking at events, yes, like GDC. We'll think about that. And those are kind of more external, but you could also talk to your company about representing them either internally or externally. For people who have been going, looking at the talks that have been happening this week, there are a lot that are associated with projects. Those are usually going to be kind of in association with the company as opposed to just the individual game developer. And one of the pluses about that is they will often help pay for your flight, pay for your trip, get some company coin if you can, right? And representing them internally, there are a lot of kind kind of programs, especially in bigger companies, where you can give a talk about something just to like your studio-wide people. Cool, making friends. I know. It's not networking though. That's not what I'm telling you to do. You know, you don't need to be going and shaking hands with everybody, giving out all of your business cards. I'm really talking about having like a deeper personal connection with these people. We devs need to come out and support each other, especially at this time. And it kind of helps you feel that you are not going through this alone. There are times that, whether it's because of your project or just because of the world in general, things can feel really isolating. And being able to talk and interact with people who are going through the same thing as you feels really validating and is very good for your mental health. So just some suggestions for this. A lot of bigger cities have game dev hubs. That could be, you know, like Los Angeles, Austin, Seattle, etc., where they will have kind of meetups in person if that is something that you enjoy. There are a number of sites. One of my favorites is Meetup to find these events near you. When I had moved to Los Angeles, I had felt really isolated and kind of alone because I had grown up in a different state, and it was like, oh, I have to build an entirely new community now. But I was able to check Meetup and find some game dev events, and was able to meet people in my first couple weeks, and I felt like I was kind of building that community, and it made me feel a lot safer. So I would recommend that for you as well. But of course, being in person isn't everybody's cup of tea, in which I would recommend online organizations and Discords. There are so many. There are so many online organizations and Discords. Of course, there's IGDA, there's Games Industry Gathering. You will find there's even discipline-specific Discords. I feel like I'm in like 4 or 5 different narrative-specific Discords, and I hear it's the same for a lot of disciplines as well. So I would be on the lookout for those. You could even ask your coworkers, your friends that are in the same discipline, see what they're using to interact with people outside of their company. Cool. So yeah, unfortunately, you do have to play video games. I know this is hard. But you need to know kind of what it is that people are digging and what people are not. What are people frustrated with? And in that same vein, please play more than just your comfort games. You are able to, there are so many awesome games that are out there. And if you're only playing just kind of your comfort games, your comfort genre, you're really kind of putting the blinders on and not able to expand and see kind of what's working in other genres, which you could even kind of start picking different either like mechanics, cool story moments, different, you know, tricks that these developers use for their games, and you could start applying it to kind of what you're doing in the future. And of course, checking out older games, not just the latest releases. Of course, there are so many good games that are coming out just like, I feel like every second. But don't forget about the older games. Of course, Parappa the Rapper 2, I mean, right? Cool. So in conclusion, always be curious, always be learning. Don't silo yourself off. You could always be learning something new. And in turn, teach what you know. Build and support your community. Again, being a game developer is a part of you that cannot be taken away. So make sure that you are supporting that side of yourself, not just the company's part of you. Thank you so much for coming to my talk. Awesome. If anybody has any questions, there are 2 microphones off on the side. Also, I guess, like, please silence your cell phones, and feel free to give me an evaluation. I do really value your feedback, and I would love to know what I could do better and what worked and didn't work for you guys. So whenever you get those evaluations, please give me your honest opinion. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah, you taught us about how you should like constantly update your profile like outside of the job, usually when you have a job. But what if you're like trying to get that dream job, like that dream job, your ideal job in the game, either the game industry or maybe entertainment and media industry? Like, how would you update your profile? Like, so someone like say someone's trying to like has ambition trying to break into the industry. Like, how do you like how do you update your profile to ensure that you'll get that that ideal job in the industry, or at least get into the industry, and then work your way up from there.
Yeah, so the question is, how can I update my profile to get a job that I would like in the industry? The unfortunate thing is there's no guarantee either way, but you could always be doing things to help. One of the things that I have actually on my website, if you go to ashleypoprik.com/resources, it's not all video game writing resources. There's a lot on how to get a job in the games industry because there are a lot of people that are interested in that. And I wanted to provide all of the resources that I used when I was personally getting in. One of the things that I recommend, of course, is just making sure that your resume is up to date. Having game jam projects is really useful, especially if you don't actually have a job in the games industry at the moment. You're showing that you're still passionate about it and that it is something that you're actively wanting to do. And making sure that you're connecting with people in the industry, of course. Going to GDC is a really great way of doing that. And have a portfolio. Depending on what it is that you want to do, the things that are going to be on there are going to be different, so I can't speak specifically to that. But you want to show people your work and kind of how you make games and how you perceive your art, of course. Cool. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, but what about LinkedIn profile? Like, is there like a template, like your about section, how your about section, your summary? How should you write it in a way to show all these things that you're really passionate, and to convince people to hire you? And
yeah, I would say there's not a specific template. It's kind of what feels best for you. But you just want to make sure that you are, of course, speaking professionally, so a little bit more formally, I guess, but that you're also being true to yourself. You want to show who you really are in your work. Even if it is like LinkedIn, of course, that's a more professional thing than, say, Instagram. But you still want to show little pieces of you in that. So that would, of course, include your profile picture, your bio photo, stuff like that.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm really glad that you decided to talk about this at GDC this year, so thank you.
Thank you.
How do I identify the things about myself that are sort of helpful enough to make that step to try to put it out into the industry?
Right. So somebody had told me that, when people are looking for a job, hold on. Let me restate the question. How do you decide what things are important to you as a person to kind of showcase, especially in the industry? Okay, now going back. Recruiters are reaching out because the company needs that job. People need you. And they are going to be getting, of course, a bunch of applications, right? But the way that you could kind of look at it is they need help. And so what can you do to help them? So it's thinking about things that a lot of companies are lacking. So for me personally, showcasing a lot of my identity, showing what I can write for, women and queer people and people with disabilities, that sort of thing. Being able to show parts of my identity and things that really matter to me so that they know when they are, when we're kind of getting through that almost like hiring. Okay, cool. That's something that's a part of you. And I also think that just being, again, kind of true to yourself and true to your own personal identity, other people that share kind of similar aspects will find you and be able to connect with you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I take one more question? Okay, cool. Okay, great, awesome.
Hi. First off, thank you so much for coming out here and giving such an incredible talk. I had a question kind of relating to the social media, and I'm just wondering, how important is it for you to begin posting personal projects such as games you've developed on your own or ARGs when it comes to getting into an industry level job?
Yeah, I would say it's incredibly important, right? Because no matter, I mean, really, no matter where you are kind of in the industry, whether you're a veteran or you're brand new or looking for your first job, you want to be showing off kind of the project that you're working on and what it is that you're passionate about, things that you are learning, you know, and kind of in the same vein where like you're staying curious and playing other people's games, they're going to want to do the same for you, right? So you want to show kind of what you have to offer. So I would recommend, and it doesn't really have to be on any certain platform in terms of social media, but always be kind of sharing what you're doing. If you like giving updates of, you know, kind of in progress, what it is that you're doing and kind of working on and focusing on, that could be really useful too. I find there are times on LinkedIn where I'm able to ask for advice, and there are people who are there to, you know, offer their personal expertise and give me answers on things that I don't know off the top of my head, and, you know, be able to get a more diverse perspective. So that is really, really useful for when you're having your personal projects too. If you have any questions, trying to see how things are landing, definitely use that as a resource.
Okay, thank you.
Again, thank you for coming over here. I don't really have a question. I just want to add on to what you were talking about with building community. I think it's important to also have hobbies just outside of games and technology. I think that was just something that was missing, and it would just be great to have those to kind of like round out your character so people don't think you like just work on games.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I rock climb if anybody wants to do that with me. I live in Los Angeles. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I want to know your question.
Hello, my name is Miles. Thank you for your talk today.
Thank you for coming.
Really informative, and I really like all the images that you put there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. So say that, just following up from like a couple of the previous questions, you have a resume build, you have maybe like a couple game jams under your belt. So if you're building like a prototype or a proof of concept, like how important is that for like potential employers? And like how do you show each of them without being like, without capitalizing their attention or without taking too much of their space?
Would you mind saying the last part of that question really quick? Sorry.
Yeah, like how do you show like a game prototype to employers without being too invasive of their attention, I guess?
Okay, so the question is, when you are making a prototype or proof of concept, how do you show that to potential employers without basically taking up too much of their time? I mean, I would say reaching out to people who or employers who are kind of interested, and especially looking at those, there are a lot of people. I mean, again, if you say that you're offering mentorship on LinkedIn, people will come to you asking for kind of those questions. And there are people that are on LinkedIn that say that they are interested in giving portfolio reviews, kind of project reviews that you can reach out to. I would say those are the first people that you should look to for feedback. And then also just kind of posting in a general sense is good. I would say for potential employers, especially because you know, there are a lot of people that are working in a company. It's not just one person. So if there is something specific that you are kind of asking for review on or feedback, then you should at least try kind of seeing if you could reach out in that sense. I personally recommend, and this is kind of just for any talks, of course, be kind. Don't just kind of like come out right out of the blue and being like, hello, I'm a stranger. You need to talk to me now. But you know, have a conversation and then ask like, hey, would you be available maybe for a, 15-minute to 30-minute Zoom chat? I have a couple of questions about some specific stuff. And a lot of times people will say yes. Just make sure that, you're not harassing them either. Of course, a lot of game developers are very busy, but also very willing to help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, you had mentioned it's important to understand where different identities come from. May you elaborate on this, please?
Okay, so the question was, please elaborate on understanding where different identities are coming from. So I'm guessing you're talking in regards to the books that I was mentioning, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the people that you are working with, it doesn't matter whether it's big or small. They, especially like the team, you are going to be very accustomed to them and kind of their likes and their kind of personalities, where they've come from. That all consists of their identity, right? Their, their gender, their race, their, even like socioeconomic status. Like you're able to kind of feel that when you are in a group and they affect each other, which is super important. You need to be aware of that. But also, when you're just kind of in one group all the time, you're not getting the perspectives of people that are outside of it. And that is something where books could come in handy, especially because, again, a lot of game developers are very busy. Not all of them are going to be chronically online like some people. And so it's really good to check out those books and get those perspectives. And that's ways that you could kind of learn about their identity and where they came from, because they will be talking about, even more of their personal history and how that affected them in the games industry. And in turn, it helps you understand your teammates, whether that is present or future as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. I'm Nathan, and one of the points that you mentioned that I really liked was about wanting to explore things outside of your comfort games or comfort media. I want to ask, do you have any advice when it comes to being able to explore lots of things outside of your own wheelhouse without, one, breaking the bank because of, unfortunately, how expensive this hobby can be, but also without breaking the amount of time you have, because there are lots of games that, again, that time requirement is so intense. So yeah, on those two fronts.
Okay, perfect. So the question was, on the topic of playing a bunch of games, diversifying what it is that you're actually playing, how can you do those things without breaking the bank, of course, because buying a whole bunch of games will add up over time, and also without losing a whole bunch of time, because there are a diverse amount of games that have different number of hours with them. And with that, I would say two things that helped me personally were actually game streaming services, so Game Pass and PS Plus. There are so many different games, and I was able to play things that I had looked at, thought were really cool, but didn't necessarily purchase at the time. And you're able to play for however many hours. And there's a lot of indie games on there too that are only a few hours. So that was something that was incredibly useful to me. I would also recommend, again, kind of checking out more indie games in terms of, diversification, of course. That would include indie games. There are so many different and really cool indie games that are not 40 hours, hundreds of hours. They also, in the terms of like the price point, aren't going to be as expensive as, say, more of those blockbuster AAA games. But I really do recommend checking out the game streaming services.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hi. Thank you for your speech. My name is Reggie, and I do game localization. So I also do some kind of writing, but like both our works are kind of invisible. It's like behind the curtain. So our works doesn't look as fancy as those artists, tech artists. So do you have any suggestions, or how did you showcase our works?
Yeah. So are you talking in terms of specifically localization?
Yeah, localization or writing, because it's
right.
It's not like visual art, kind of that's fancy.
Yeah, of course. So the question was, how do you showcase art, especially if it's going to be in a localization, even writing sense? How are you showing that, especially when it's not visual? Mm-hmm. And for me, especially as a writer, and I would recommend this for localization as well, having particular writing samples is really important, even if they are not specific to your project. In fact, the ones that I have, if you happen to look at my website, are not project specific, because again, a lot of those things are going to be locked under NDA, so you can't really show them off. So having kind of your personal pieces is really important. And for those, I would just kind of giving my own preference, but also just the rules that I follow. Having each sample be less than 5 pages. I usually try to aim for 3 pages, because again, recruiters are getting hundreds of these. And so if it's short and sweet and can tell a story with a proper beginning, middle, end with character wants and needs, and there being like a specific change that happens, that will be incredibly useful, and people are able to tell like, okay, this is the kind of work that you do. This is the way that you think about your art. And yeah, it's not visual, so it's not necessarily an ArtStation thing that you could do. But people are able to still, understand your craft.
Okay, thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you. And that is, unfortunately, all the time that we have for today. But thank you so much. I will be outside if anybody else has any more questions. Thank you.